Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel, loyal viewers of the audio stream on Spotify and on Apple's podcasting platform. Thank you guys so much for subscribing over there and listening to that version of the show. Really appreciate it. Today we have a story that's yet another depressing story of somebody who didn't deserve to die being killed because New York State is soft on crime. And we're going to go over the history of the primary offender in this case and how, of course, he was let out multiple different times and should have been behind bars when this incident took place. But first, we have a bit of a positive update, which honestly should not be viewed as all that positive. Now, in a previous video, we talked about an incident where the Bronx district attorney decided it would be appropriate to reduce the charges for a felon who on video decided to put on gloves, walk up behind a random 52-year-old man, because according to the reports, this was a completely unprovoked incident, and sucker punch him, which ended up resulting in injuries that required this man to get emergency brain surgery. And at the time of me recording the video, he is still in a coma. He could have passed away by the time that you see this video, and I am so sorry to the family if that is the case. But the real story in that was not the vicious violence going on New York City streets. It was that the Bronx district attorney downgraded the charges that the NYPD submitted, which were attempted murder, based on the premeditated actions that you can see on the video, to a petty assault, a minor misdemeanor assault, because, you know, it was just him touching him, basically, according to the Bronx district attorney, and harassment, because, you know, when I get knocked to the ground and my brain swells up and I need emergency surgery, I think it's really important that the prosecutor goes after the harassing words that may or may not have been said in that situation. Now, the update to this is that this person, who I described before accurately as being on parole for a felony sex offense, he pointed a gun at a minor and forced the minor to do sex acts on him. That's why he was on parole, and he didn't have his parole violated before, has actually had his parole violated. Now, the reason this happened is that the governor ordered it, because the governor is running for governor this year, Kathy Hochul, and had that not been the case, the Bronx DA didn't want to violate the parole board, the parole officer didn't want to violate the parole, this guy would still be out on the streets. So I guess it's good that this monster is behind bars, but then again, he's only behind bars because Governor Hochul is running for governor this year, and if that were not the case, he would have been dumped out on the streets. Hochul fights back against any reform to the bail system to let people just like this out. Today's video involves another incident, a similar incident that actually resulted in the death of a father of four, and we're going to talk about it, but this video is sponsored, so we're going to toss it to the sponsor and then address this on the other side of that read. You guys have to check out Flip City magazine. It is hilarious, and I laugh all the way through reading each and every single issue. And one of the things I absolutely love about Flip City magazine, other than their tireless commitment to comedy, other than the fact that they're 100% independent, other than the fact that they're committed to freedom of speech and they're not going to take censorship by anybody, is that it's actually legitimately good. I mean, check out these covers. You can actually see artists are behind this, comedians, people who are interested in making you a good product are on board. This isn't one of those, oh, it's conservative, so just buy it, idiot. They're actually hilarious. Flip City mocks the same people that I mock each and every day right here on this channel. A lot of people have called them like Mad Magazine before they went woke, but honestly, it's better than Mad Magazine. So go over to flipcitymag.com and get yourself a subscription. We have been searching for something independent and committed to free speech and hilarious, and this is the time to put our money where our mouth is. flipcitymag.com.
It was everything we had. It was my children's hero.
The woman you just saw there is a mother of four, and she is the wife of taxi cab driver Kutin Jimma. Now, Jimma was doing his regular job. He drove one of those big vans, so he often drove larger parties of people when 5 people solicited a ride and asked for it to go to Far Rockaway, Queens. However, when this ride was completed, which by the way, apparently, allegedly, was somewhere in the range of $30, the 5 people decided that they weren't going to pay that because New York City doesn't prosecute petty criminals, and it's just there were Aladdins, and obviously they needed that ride, and Kutin, I guess, was a bad person for trying to use his vehicle as a means of production in order to exploit these sad individuals. So they all jump out of the cab, they all run in different directions, and Kutin, not interested in being robbed, not interested in being taken advantage of by these criminals, actually chases down one of the people, because again, they all ran in different directions. He catches up to one of them, and then the others all circle back and crowd him, and then they assault him as a group. Really courageous actions right there.
His life has just been cut short just like that.
Gemma in the red shirt was kicked and punched by a group of passengers after he confronted them. Police say they refused to pay their fare and tried to rob the driver early Saturday in the Far Rockaways. With the final punch, Gemma falls to the ground.
Now, the video is really bad. You see 5 of these individuals, 3 teenage girls and 2 men in their 20s, all attack as a group, really courageous. And of course, they try to rob him again because it's not enough that they already stole from what he was providing to his family, to his 4 girls. They decided that it was really important because he dared speak up to criminals that they steal his life, thus stealing the provider himself. And during the course of the assault, the 20-year-old man actually hit him 2 times, he went to the ground, and he never recovered. And there's actually surveillance video of these 5 individuals all spreading out and running away, and you could see the smiles on their face. You could see how elated they are that they just took a man's money, they took his livelihood, they humiliated him, and then they beat him down for daring to try to defend himself, daring to try to provide for his family. Now, a lot of people have been focusing on Austin Amos, who is charged with the most serious charges and is looking at potentially 25 years in prison, and deservedly so. However, the focus should not just be on his actions in this incident. The focus should extend further beyond because, of course, Austin Amos has a long criminal history, including a bunch of sketchy crimes and related crimes. So he is a robber. He's been arrested multiple different times for robbery, for assault. Of course, he's been tossed back out on the street to do it time and time again, despite the fact that he has already proven himself to be a violent person.
Amos stood in court without showing any emotion as ADA Lauren Riley said that Amos, with at least 6 prior arrests for robbery, criminal mischief, and sexual misconduct.
But also, you did hear that report right. He's been arrested for sexual misconduct, which is unsurprising when you think about the suspects list in this case, because you have the 2 20-year-old black men, but also the 3 15-year-old or thereabouts girls that were involved in this incident, that participated in this. And by the way, the fact that there's 5 of them and the fare was reportedly $30 means that each of these individuals killed this man over $6 each. And again, we had a history on Austin Amos, a violent history, a sexual misconduct history, and yet he was still walking the streets, still given a chance due to the fact that he couldn't be held on bail for any of those other crimes, due to the fact that we have district attorneys that refuse to prosecute criminals like him, and this is the result. He ended up taking out a good man, a good father, who was just trying to provide for his children as a taxi cab driver. His name sounds kind of African, so he may even be a potential immigrant taxi cab driver, but definitely possibly of African descent, and this was his result. This was the reward that he got for doing everything right. And these stories, beyond all the other stories, really bother me because we often talk on this channel about the importance of fathers, how they can be a stabilizing influence on the households, how studies show time and time again that if you have a 2-parent household, if you have a father that is acting as a provider, then your chances of going to jail or any other negative outcome, not finishing high school, being trapped in intergenerational poverty, go down significantly. The father is incredibly important, and we also often talk about how this relates to the black communities across our country. There is a dearth of fathers in those communities. There's a dearth of 2-parent households in those communities. And here you have a man who is providing for his kids. He's hustling as a taxi cab driver. And by the way, with the advent of Uber and Lyft, this guy's not killing it. He's not a millionaire. He's not a billionaire. He may have been in the Rockaway area of Queens, but he's reportedly from the Bronx. So this is a working class guy. And what happens? These punk kids steal from him, they assault him, and they ultimately end up killing him over a $30 transaction.
He offered service to these people. They had to give him what he deserved, but they chose not to give it to him. Take his life.
And they laugh about it. They enjoy it. They celebrate it. It's all smiles on all the videos. Go look at them because they make you absolutely sick to your stomach. But what are we told by activists? What are we told about the people who are supposedly the self-appointed guardians of the black community? We are told that the police are the problem. The people who want to get these criminals off the streets, those people are the issues. The fact that we have a prison industrial complex that wants to keep people who are convicted of robberies or arrested over and over again for robberies and assaults and sexual misconduct charges off the streets, those people are the issues, not the criminals from within the community that take out good people who are doing everything right, providing for their family. The real issue is evil white supremacy somewhere out there in the ether. I've said it before and I'll say it again. On average, 9 unarmed black people are killed by the police a year in this country. And by unarmed, that includes people trying to go for the gun, people driving a vehicle at the police officers, and otherwise presenting a dangerous, deadly threat. But even if we take those 9 at face value, in a nation of 320 million people, that is something that you address with specifically tailored solutions to the small scale of that problem. Over half of the murders in the United States of America are committed by black people. Over 90% of the victims of those murders are also black people. And I know a lot of people say, oh, a lot of this is gang warfare. A lot of times it's bad people killing bad people. But the good people that live in these communities that want to raise their kids, that want to provide for the kids, are often caught in the crossfire. And all our soft criminal justice policies meant to protect the criminal have a disproportionate impact on the good people in those neighborhoods. I don't know how many times we have to do stories about this. This is not good for black people. Now, I know somewhere in the comments of this video, probably in the live chat, you're going to hear people say, well, you voted for it because you live in New York City and thus you are automatically a Democrat. No, and shut your mouth, by the way, because in reality, the person who signed bail reform was Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Governor Andrew Cuomo was not the wild-eyed progressive when he was running for his election. In fact, he beat the wild-eyed progressive Cynthia Nixon, who was proposing all these crazy radical left-wing policies. But then, all of a sudden, Andrew Cuomo thought he might have some presidential prospects, and criminal justice reform was in vogue. By the way, Trump was getting on the criminal justice reform train, so he signed the no cash bail thing in order to bolster his presidential prospects. The people of the city of New York, the people of the state of New York, did not elect Governor Andrew Cuomo to pass laws in order to secure a presidential run that never ultimately ended up materializing in 2020. And when Cuomo stepped down, guess who stepped into his place? Governor Kathy Hochul, the accidental governor. So no, she was not voted for. And as far as the mayor's side, the people voted in the Democratic primary for the guy who promised to be tough on crime. They want tough on crime. And again, even if you vote the wrong way for other reasons not related to crime, that does not mean that random people deserve to die because criminals are running wild. And by the way, if you think you're safe and protected because you live in a red state, you're about to have a rude awakening, because the national conversation, if we ignore the issues of no cash bail in the blue cities, is going to shift. Criminal justice reform is already an issue that a lot of people are on board for. So in the legislation passed at the federal government level, meant to supplement and help the budgets of police, there's usually strings attached. And your little small town that doesn't deal with this woke nonsense or whatever might be getting a huge portion of their budget through the federal government, or might be benefiting in some other ways through federal government funding programs. And when those strings are attached to that money and it's between not having a budget and having a budget, I guarantee you the bureaucrats are going to side with the strings every single time, or nearly every single time. Also, these leftists like George Soros and Sean King are dropping big money in district attorneys races across the country, and it turns out not a lot of money is usually spent in these races, so it's an overwhelming advantage for a lot of these people. And it's not just in red states, it's in a lot of places across the nation. So you might actually have one of these district attorneys and think you're totally protected because you haven't been paying attention enough to your local politics. Crime and its consequences have previously spread across this nation like wildfire, and if you think you can just contain it, trust me, you're wrong. It's going to affect you in ways that you can't possibly imagine. Now, of course, there is a GoFundMe for this taxi cab driver. I will link that in the description. I know a lot of you don't like GoFundMe, but this is where the family's doing their fundraiser. So if you're interested in supporting his family who now are without a father or provider, the link will be there. That being said, that's all I really have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description box of this video. This has been me talking about yet another instance of crime that could have been prevented with sensible policy. Till next time.